Hello, everyone. A good evening to everyone present here. So we welcome you to the first episode of Who Can I Talk To? I'm Abhilasha along with Alice, who will be moderating today's session. So today we have with us a very special guest, and her name is Sharmistha Ghosh, who is currently pursuing her MA in clinical psychology from Amity University. She is really passionate about bringing a change in society through creating awareness on mental health. We are really delighted and grateful to have you here.
Hello,
So,
Abhilasha.
hello. So, the first thing that we wanted to ask you is, what made you choose psychology and what fascinates you the most about psychology?
Okay, so to start with, it is a very funny thing that I did not choose psychology as a subject. Like in 12th standard, I really did not like maths. So psychology came up as a sixth subject. I took it as, let's take it. It might be interesting. And when I started to study it thoroughly, the teachers in my school, they actually taught it so well that I was so interested in pursuing it in my future as a clinical psychologist. And here I am in Amity University studying about psychology, studying about human mind. And the most fascinating thing is about there is no proper process in which we can cure things or in which we can reach a goal. But yet, there are plenty of psychologists who are making people's life easier and they are having a very functional life.
Exactly, that's so interesting. And we're really glad that you chose psychology. That's why we got to meet you. Yes. So now, what would you like to do after pursuing your MA?
So basically, most importantly, I would like to work in hospital settings as a clinical psychologist, but I would not want to limit myself into that. I would want to go for workshops. I would want to go for NGOs, and like for example, this is my first opportunity as a speaker, as to pursue my dreams ahead. So I would like to engage myself in various aspects in the psychological field.
Okay, that's really good. So I guess we will be starting with our session. So over to you, Alice.
Hello, Sharmistha. Starting with the topic, well, my first question you to be is that what is the general idea of mental health according to you, and could you tell us about the difference between mental illness and mental health? Because we see that people use the terms interchangeably today, but they are different terms. So yeah.
So, to answer your first question, mental health, according to me, is psychological, social, and an overall well-being of a person. How a person is able to function in their day-to-day activities, how resilient a person is, how they can solve their upcoming challenges. So, this mental health topic is very different from mental illness, as you said. Mental illness is basically, when you get burned out. Okay. And then it is about the deteriorating mental well-being and inner gist. But whereas mental health is considered, it is about how you are seeking your opportunities, how you are emotionally intelligent, how you're socially intelligent. When a person is having a burnout, or suppose they are having symptoms of maybe anxiety, it does not mean that they have a poor mental health. If we relate it with physical health, if you are having a cold, seasonal cold, it does not mean that you are having a poor physical health. So using them interchangeably is completely wrong. Mental health is the overall well-being, how you are able to function in a long run, whereas mental illness is an aspect of it. You can be mentally ill, but cannot be used interchangeably.
Okay. So according to you, what is the current status of child mental health in India?
So I read a report by UNICEF in 2021 during COVID-19. And according to that report, children are having anxiety, depression due to the loss of parents, their caregivers, which is affecting their education, which is affecting their, personal life. They are not having that kind of a support. And in that research in itself, another research was mentioned, which is the International Journal of Psychiatry. The research was in 2019. So over 50 million of people are having in India are having mental health issues, and they are not seeking support, 80 to 90% of them. So it is kind of worst situation for our country. They need to be awakened that mental health for children is a very important aspect. We need to delve into it. We need to educate them. That's what I would like to say about this.
As you said, it's a very grave issue nowadays. So, can you tell us some of the stereotypes that exist related to mental health today?
So, the generalized taboos that we have all about. First, if we talk about psychologists, you might have heard a lot of times by your friends, can you please read my mind? Can you please read my face and tell me what's going on in my mind? Which is absolutely not true. We do not do that. Second of all, the most taboo is that, boys should not seek help. Boys, if they seek help or they go for therapy, they become less of a man, which is not at all true. Everybody, whether it be a girl, whether it be a boy, anyone, any gender for that matter, if they are having issues in their personal life, in their social life, they need to seek help so as to not prognose it into a worse situation. Then third, if we talk about children in general, so the children and their parents, most of the times you may see that when a child is not disinterested in their activities in school, or if they are not interested, maybe they are lacking that kind of a confidence, or they are not able to get good marks, their parents are terming them as notorious. He does not listen to me, but that is not the case. Like we know Ishan Avasthi from Tare Zameen Par, he was dyslexic. He was not notorious as his parents defined him. So this is one of the major taboo, that diagnosis of children is not happening in our country because they're like, hamara bachcha aisa hi hai, he will get well. Then the fourth is that whenever they are talking about learning disabilities, if we say in general, or we are talking about audio and visual disability, they are getting it diagnosed very, very later in life. So the interventions are not very fruitful. So these are some of the taboos that are present in our country and that we need to clarify.
Yes, exactly. And there are a lot of taboos regarding mental health. And even when it comes to psychologists, they don't even consider that to be a profession, right? It's like you guys won't have any stable financial stability. And like I've heard a lot about this because a lot of my friends are pursuing psychology. And then they said that people do not relate it with a proper career option. Exactly. And when it comes to children, I think a lot of it has to be done with their childhood traumas also, right? Because we are an amalgamation of all the social structures or environment that we grow up in. So according to you, how do you think childhood trauma affects a person in later life?
So when we talk about childhood trauma, one of the most important things that we need to understand is what is the source of that trauma. It can be from family environment, it can be from loss of parents, it can be from natural disasters as well. They might be having a fruitful family, but the trauma from the natural disaster can affect them, as we learn from it from PTSD. Then there can be separation anxieties. So the childhood trauma affects a person in the future. One of the major thing is adjustment and attachment issues. So they are not able to develop a fruitful relationship with their peers, maybe with their partners. They have a constant mistrust that they would be, not able to trust them as they would have been able to trust if they would not have these childhood traumas. For example, if I give you, this could also happen that a child is living in a family which environment is very hostile, aggressive, abusive. So when the child grows up, he or she or they might think that this behavior is normal and they would pass on this particular behavior to their future generation, which is very, that they should look upon to. They do not realize that this behavior that they had gone through is very wrong. Some people, some children, they realize, they have an insight, so they seek help, or they might, bring those changes in their behavior. But in these cases, it just gets passed on. Then one of the major thing that childhood trauma does is that they are not able to function in the society in the professional aspect. They might have attitude problems. They might also get engaged into smoking, drinking, substance use disorders to, feel that they are coping up with it. Their coping mechanisms would involve, avoiding the opportunities or avoiding the challenges of their life, because they feel like if they would go into those zones, they might not be having a fruitful um, goal, they would not be able to achieve it. So all of these aspects, they keep coming back to the child. When they are grown up, it affects their social peer, every aspect of their relationship.
As you said, childhood trauma affects from the early beginning. So, as we say that child, home is the first school, and our parents are our first teachers. So, what do you think is the role of parents in educating them about mental health?
So when talking about parents, as you said, they are our first, group of people who have the, capacity to make us understand about our emotions. So few of the points that a parent can keep in mind while raising a child. I'm not obviously telling them to do this, but they can keep in mind. Some parents might find it very controversial that how are they telling us how to raise a child, but that's not the case. First is a talk with your child. I know it's a very busy environment. Every parent is a working parent, but still find at least an hour to sit with your child and ask them how their day was. Do not make it very mechanical, because then they would not want to answer your questions, because they are asking the same questions every day. No, spend time with them, spend quality time with them to understand what exactly is going on in their life, not only in their academics, but in general. Like if they are supposedly having a partner, what exactly are they seeking in a partner? Are their partners actually good for them? Sit with them, discuss about their problems. Second point, which is very important according to me, is not neglecting the frustration or the anger emotions of a child. We as Indians, we generally say that, be happy, be joyful. But those anger emotions, those frustrated emotions, they also come from a situation, from an event. If we kind of suppress them, they might come in back into some other forms, because emotions can never be suppressed. They have a way, they are a kind of energy which will transmit into something other. They might develop some kind of disorder, or they might have problems within themselves. They might think that showing anger is a wrong process and they should be happy and they just should be suppressing them. So when we talk about anger and frustration, it is very important that we, as parents, we discuss it to them that excessive anger is bad. That, throwing tantrums, how to deal with their tantrums, those things to be kept in mind while we are parenting. Then when we talk about supporting your child, we can do that by, making time for them and engaging into activities, as I already said. So parenting styles would be very different for different parents, but these aspects can be kept in mind to, have a what you call valuable time with their children to understand. Also, one of the major things that like from my personal experience, whenever I used to come and tell my parents about some or the other problem that I might have faced in school, they would, tell me about their experience. And I personally would not want to know their experience. I want to tell them about mine, what I felt, what I have been through. So being advised by your parents every time when you're going and seeking help from them might not be a good thing. You should just listen to them. Sometimes your child just wants to vent out to you. They do not want attention. They don't want advice from you. So that is one thing that is a major thing that a parent should keep in mind.
Yes, that's what. And oftentimes when it comes to childhood trauma, the child tends to internalize those things and pass it to the next generation. And I think that's how generational trauma kind of evolves, right? And when it comes to teenager, even I remember when I was a teenager, I was being rude oftentimes, and then I was being thora hostile also, and I did not want to listen to my parents. I wanted to be on my own, in my own space. And when it comes to those things, sometimes parents also revert back that energy. So like, how do you think parents should like handle those kind of emotions from their child?
It's very normal as a teenager to, feel that you are, they want to protect you. Like, I would not say that our parents are wrong. They really want to protect us from the bad company. But, obviously they are humans. So they revert back our emotions. But obviously they are elders. So, we expect them kind of to, listen to us, just sit down with us. Like, it has, like, with my friends, what I have heard is they really, really advise you, they scold you. Obviously, we as teenagers would want to make mistakes. Let us make mistakes, If you constantly stop us from doing something, I know it might be bad for us, but let's just experience it for once time. Let us make our own decisions. As a parent, should be there with us. You should ask us, like, you have done something wrong. How does it make you feel? Obviously, when you are asked like that, you would think, you would introspect, and you would feel that guilt that yes, what I have done is wrong. Me talking back to my parent in such a way that it might hurt their feelings as well. We as teenagers, we just want to talk about our feelings. You don't understand us. That should not be the case within parents. After so many years, now I understand that they have a generation gap. We are really young, so that thinking is very vast. But as we grow, we need to think our parents side too, and parents need to believe in us, which is a thing that they lack. Personally, I believe most of the parents, they feel like bacha galat karega, let them do it, but let them learn from their mistakes.
And adding to that, how do you think the peer around us or the peer of a child, it affects their like upbringing as a healthy mental well-being or something like that?
So when we talk about peers, it is very important that we choose the right kind. There you will find bad companies, which, for example, they might pressurize you into smoking. For example, you would know that it is bad for your health, but you would want to do because it's cool for the generation. It might be cool to party around, and I am not against partying, by the way. I just want to say, a parent has a major role into it. If you are giving a deadline, for example, maybe it's 10 o'clock, make sure that your child is coming back at that time, so that when they are around their peers, they know that still I have a family to go back to, which is a factor which, if you are very strict, why did you not come back at 10 p.m.? So they might think I didn't do something wrong. I was stuck in traffic. You know, it happens a lot of times. So they need to listen to them first. And when we are talking about peers, we need to, really think if something that is socially, very cool, is it, enjoyable for us? If it is yes, then absolutely go and, engage in any activity that you want. But you should be really, really, cautious about how you are making your friends, if they are, helping you in future. Present, everybody is very, fascinating to us. We need to be around 10 people, 20 people, and it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. But to realize that, you need friends that actually help you grow in future is very important. They need to have healthy discussions in peer groups about life, maybe about goals. All of these things should be involved. So as peers, if there is a bad company, it would definitely, influence your mental health as well. So
Yes, exactly. And we meet a lot of friends. We make a lot of friends in the initial years of schooling, especially in sixth, seventh, eighth class. We make friends, and that does impact our, the channeling of our direction in life most of the times. And also when it comes to schools are considered to be the second home of students, or a person in his life, right? So what do you think, schools, how do schools play a role in a child's mental health?
so when talking about school, one thing that I have seen personally that many schools engage in is inclusivity. For example, a boy, it's a co-ed school, and a boy wants to, uh, participate in a dance competition. If the school is allowing him to, participate in that dance competition, what he gains from that is that, my interests are validated. It is not wrong to participate in a dance competition where there are other girls, but if it does not happen and there is a discrimination between maybe gender, maybe race or culture within the school system, it creates a mental, what you call it, a thought process that, dance is for girls and boys do not dance. And even if he really, really would be, flattered with the movements and everything, he would feel that I would be judged, which I think school should not provide. Personally, I haven't seen any school doing that, but if any school does that, it is a wrong, step for a child. A child should be included, whether it be a boy, a girl, or any other gender. They should be included in every activity, and they should be given that opportunity to explore their ideas, explore their creativity. The second point that I would like to see is that the government is already doing it. The education system has made it mandatory that counselors are provided to every school, which I think is a great initiative, because psychology teachers are available. But one myth that is that psychology teachers are counselors. That is not true. Counselors are supposed to provide a judgment free environment for the students. For example, if it's a third grade student, he might also be facing difficulties in learning, maybe, or with his peer group. As a counselor, they can help that child understand what exactly is the problem and how he or she can resolve it. So, government is making it mandatory even in organizations, but when we are talking about school, they have made it mandatory. And I personally think it's a great initiative to not only provide counselors for higher secondary school, but also to provide counselors for the students over below, maybe 15 or 16. They also have their problems. When we talk about the third point, that is special educators, it is very important that children with disabilities are catered differently. They have a course that is specific to them. Learning disabilities, there are speech sound disorders. They can also study with the normal students, but they need to have a specific course. when they are studying with normal students, they feel that, we are part of the crowd. We are not separate. They do not judge us because we have, maybe stammering. So these things need to be dealt with care. There comes the role of special educators.
Relating to that, Sharmistha, I have a question. Like you said about special educators, how do you think that textbooks in our school can really help in that process? Because we everything we learn from textbook and all, and even if we have to consider mental illness and mental health as a part of our education, we need textbook to sort of कि हमने पढ़ा है इसके बारे में, and we yes, this is a thing. So how do you think textbook can help in this process?
So I would want like textbooks, if there are, like for example, junior schools, junior classes have moral science, right? So for example, moral science is there, so they can have an activity kind of booklet where they are having weekly programs in which they are talking about how a child feels. In this, I'm talking about the preschool children. They would not understand exactly what is mental health, what exactly are disorders. It is very difficult to make them understand those things. Those are for maybe sixth class and above. So the students below those class, they can have discussions about it. How are you feeling today? They might have color books in which every color depicts a emotion the teacher teaches them. For example, I don't know color therapy, but I'm just giving an example. Maybe blue is for sadness, yellow is for joy. So they handle them color crayon, and they ask them, what exactly are you feeling? And they can color out maybe a whatever a figure or human figure in which they can actually express themselves, through which the presenting counselor, as I said, they can look into those illustrations, those colors, and they can actually make out what exactly is a child going through. Like for example, if half of the body is colored in blue and it is signifying sadness, there might be some emotions that a child is going through that he's or she is not able to tell others. So for preschools and till class maybe fourth, we can do this with them. And sixth onwards, the textbooks can have actual um, chapters about what we actually study in psychology in 11 12. They can start it from 6. So those things can actually gradually happen. We can like ask them about how you know different kinds of situations makes them feel.
Yes, exactly. And that's really interesting. And through that, they will be able to, express their emotions better. And when it comes to schools, right, there's a lot of bullying and ragging that happens to students. So, like, how do you think that affects a person in his later phases of life?
So answering that, I would want to share my experience that I have been through the same. For example, for several years I was also body shamed, maybe because as children we do not understand. They fat shame, like when the children, especially boys, they fat shame, you are fat, you cannot play with us. Or maybe girls actually see, while growing phases, they actually make fun of each other's bodies. So that really affects them, their self esteem. It breaks down their self confidence. Even if they are good at public speaking, for example, they would fear that without judging my body, they would not listen to me. The first thing that they would look at, how am I looking, which is not the actual case in a society. The thing that matters is your knowledge, the way you conduct yourself. But bullying and ragging really affects the mental state of a person. They become prone to anxiety, they're prone to depression, and they themselves do not understand what exactly is happening to them. For example, in my case, I used to throw tantrums for like, I don't know, 15 minutes every time I had to go out of my house. Why is that happening? Now, when I introspect, I understand that is because nobody taught us that bullying and ragging is not a thing to be proud of. People, make groups and laugh at children. In these cases, it really affects how a person is having, maybe their self respect for themselves is so below that they are not able to look at themselves in the mirror. They are not able to feel beautiful and feel confident, and these two things are very important as a individual, because then you start losing your individuality. You feel like you need to be beautiful in some sort of the way. And for example, now cyberbullying is aggravating in such a fast speed that how many complaints can you file? you know People are constantly trolling in people's picture. Even now, fifth or fourth graders are on Instagram, right? So they are trolled for the dresses, for the way they click pictures, random faceless people. That affects the way they feel about themselves. And when you do not feel good in your own skin, it affects, it might lead to body image disorders. It might lead to what do you call it, eating disorders. So anorexia nervosa, then bulimia, all of these terms, all of these disorders are prevalent and are very what do you call it, yeah, prevalent when they are have gone through bullying and ragging in childhood. So this is what my thought is on this.
Yeah, exactly. It's all starts from our childhood. Whenever we look into the mirror, we always remember what we have like felt from the very beginning, and it takes very long time to change that. Well, I should have asked this question even after the school part only. I missed it. But how do you think academic pressure affects the mental health of the children? Even from child, even from class 1 2, we have very heavy bags, for example, for children. Now, like it is still there. So the academic pressure is still very heavy on us. Like, how do you think it affects the mental health of children?
So, like, as you mentioned, from first class itself, it's a competition to score good. Because even though we say, marks don't matter, in Indian education system, academics hold a lot of value. Sports quota is a different thing, but even in that, people actually see your marks. If you have 60%, they'll maybe add 20% to it regarding your sports. So that has been a major, you know, difficulty for students. Even if you are best at your singing or dancing, it does not be a solo thing. It has to be with your academics. So in this case, I feel like it might get a bit controversial. I feel like the education system should maybe follow some western cultures. For example, in those countries, they actually value your hobbies. They actually help you pursue your hobbies better. If you're not good at academics, they create clubs. And they modify your courses according to that. They see your potential in those aspects, which the Indian education system is kind of lagging behind. If you call it, even after higher secondary, it's we all know it was such a difficult time to get into our dream colleges. And we have heard many you know mishappenings that happen to students because of the pressure that is created by the system. So I feel that they should be acknowledged. Their interest should be acknowledged. They should feel validated that what I am doing, I should get better at it than doing bits and pieces of everything. So that is how we can help a child in actually pursuing what they want, and not doing everything little by little and not excelling in anything at all.
giving importance to their passion from the early age only. Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly. And to be very honest, our education system is very academically rigorous. And that kind of brings us to the question of teachers, right? Because teachers also play such a vital role in all of our lives. And many a times we also tend to encounter situations where the teachers throw a lot of light on our mental health. So, how do you think teachers affect the mental health of children? Positively and negatively. Yeah.
So positively speaking, like teachers are, what I have seen, teachers are very, keen and very attentive to children. Most of the schools, they actually want the students to learn. They actually cater to each individual. They make sure that they are learning. And if it is not happening, it obviously turns into a negative thing. So if it is not happening, suppose in any school or any organization, for example, they need to, manage the teacher student ratio so that each teacher can attend to each individual child and solve their problems, whether it be academics, whether it be basic mental health counseling should be provided to each children. And when we talk about just teachers, it happens a lot of times that when they see a child in low mood, for example, they scream at them, instead of asking them what has actually happened, and they directly complain it to the parents or higher authorities. We have all heard about, we'll take you to the principal, for example. That actually scares the child. They do not actually tell what is bothering them. It might be a minor issue, some discomfort they are facing in school. Something might have happened in at back at home, but they would not tell it because they fear that they would be punished. So it acts as a negative reinforcement, which should not be the thing. It should be, ask the child, take him or her to a counselor if needed, or if there is a problem that needs to go that is related to their home, the parents should be called, and instead of complaining about the child, the parents should be given feedback that your child is having problem, this and this is a problem, please look at it, instead of scolding the child, which generally happens over here. So I think the teachers need to be more mindful, and they are actually, but then in the places where it is not happening, they should be doing that.
Well, you mentioned about cyberbullying earlier also. Well, my question is related to that only. That today we see the internet has been helping us in many ways, and even school, everything. So, and we see children getting trapped in malicious practices also due to this following the traps of bullies and all. Do you think there is a sort of control that is needed so that or parental control or anything that so that they don't get access to it, or they have the right age to get access to the internet?
Yes. So regarding that, I would want to say that if something is banned, people would find any way to do that, because you might have heard, as strict the parents are, the kids are that rebellious. So banning each and everything that they can get their hands on, and they get into these malicious content, or maybe those practices, I don't personally think is a right way. uh, what we can do is we can educate them. We can educate them about sexual health, we can educate them about mental health, which would make them aware that this particular age, 18 plus, is an age where they can maybe try and explore, but it is not mandatory. It is up to them if they want to explore. if you ban everything that they can get their hands on, then they would, get into that anti-social path, because exploring themselves is a natural instinct. We are humans, and if we do not get what we want, we would find some or the other way. So education acts as the major aspect in this. The family environment, the school environment should be open to discuss, you know, what exactly is right and what exactly is not. They can conduct, monthly workshops regarding that, so that they are aware about their rights, about their wrongs, and what, for example, if they are cyberbullying, and if they attend a workshop on cyberbullying and understand the legal consequences of it, they, and being scared about this thing is, I personally think, is right, because that you might get punished for it, you might get, maybe strong actions would be taken against you. So these things, if they are getting scared of, if they are getting to know about it, would, I would not say eradicate or eliminate, but it would kind of, make the ratio less. And it would create a safe space for everybody who are using the online platform. So education is at its best the master key to, solve all these issues.
Yes, exactly. And nowadays, social media plays such an important role in everyone's lives. Like you have just said, from second, third standards itself, students start being on social media platforms. And sometimes that platform is not really safe for anybody, to be very honest. Yeah, because a lot of misinformation also spreads there and everything. And with the coming up of Instagram and Facebook and all those platforms, a sense of fear of missing out kind of gets inculcated within teenagers, right? And people often feel bad that they're not having as good of a life that someone else is having on social media, right? So how do you suggest, how should people like handle that sense of FOMO?
So personally speaking, FOMO, though, I also experience a lot of times. When I see my friends partying and they are going out and they're having their trips and all, I think FOMO is, what everybody says, excess of anything is bad. So, if you are experiencing a little FOMO, I feel like it's okay, because then you create a goal in your head, I'll save up for this trip, and then I'll go to that, and then I'll also post, and then I'll also make my, friends not jealous, but they might envy me. But I think a part of everything is okay, but when it gets excessive is when a person needs to sit and actually, realize that if suppose they are partying, or maybe, they are going on trips, or whatever the situation they are feeling FOMO for, is it actually worth their time? Is it actually making, any maybe joy to them? Is it getting them the thing that they need, or is it important at that moment of time? These are the things that they need to introspect themselves, they need to find out themselves. Nobody, personally, I don't think anybody can teach them these things, that these are the things that you need to look. They need to experience the FOMO. They need to actually introspect that I need that. Maybe I need a certain kind of a phone and I do not have it, but I have some other model. Is it fulfilling the need I have? Is it worth my money? So all of these things should be kept in mind to, be, mindful about the things that they need and they want. These things are very crucial to explore.
Yes, exactly. So with that, we have basically come to the end of our session. So I just had one question. So according to you, how do you think we should make mental health discussions more inclusive in our everyday life? And how do we like normalize the concept of mental health?
Okay, so like as we discussed before, like parents play a key role because they need to be understanding about their child's mental health. They need to, see what they're up to, if I say in a blatant way. They need to, be sure about their peer groups in which they are engaging in, and they really need to have a good parenting style. Obviously no parent is bad, okay, but they still need to explore what is, right for their child. If suppose they were being treated in a hostile environment, or not even in a hostile environment, if they are not provided an open space, they will not express themselves. And expressive emotions for a child is very important. That is when they get an insight on their mental health. And if we talk about schools, then the activity that I said, one that activity, and the second is that, preschoolers, or maybe till maybe sixth standard, we can do this, is that uh, every week we can have sessions, like people have zero period in their school just after assemblies. They can have a passing the ball that we play. They can catch, and they can, actually talk about what they did in their weekend. So, it would not be, piling up. They would be expressing their emotions. And even if it was a sad weekend, even if they were not feeling like themselves, they should be given the chance in a fun and creative way, so that they can express themselves. And obviously, if suppose, the students don't understand, the teacher has to make sure that they don't judge that person. They need to explain them that it is very, okay to feel any emotions, whether it be sad, frustrated, and there are many, many emotions apart from these. So all of these things can help in a daily discussions and a daily update on mental health. And while we youngsters are concerned, we have to take the initiative that, the rural areas, we can go there and have a discussion with their parents, because they technically do not have that accessibility to, go online and research about it. So we can make sure that we connect with an NGO, and then we go to those areas and we actually discuss about the aspects, maybe anxiety, depression, what exactly is that, in their language, so that they are able to understand, and they are, mindful for their child's mental health. So all these small steps can be, fruitful for a child's mental health to, be positive, if I say, or, just be healthy and create a mental health well-being.
Thank you, Sharmistha, for giving us insights on this topic, and a lot of things to think about in the future. And we enjoyed you having us here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me in this platform. It was a great experience. Thank you so much, Abhilasha and Alice.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we really enjoyed the session. It was
Yeah.
such an insightful session. And to be very honest, we need people like you who is, passionately working to spread awareness on mental health. So yes, just thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it too.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I really loved having a conversation with you guys. It was lovely time.
Yes, exactly. And we hope that we get to collaborate more in the future.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'm up for it.
Yes. Thank you so much, and all the best for the future. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching.